Welcome to Part 2, Gundam Zero, from the Gundam OO series. So once you've taken it out of the box and put it together, you're not going to expect too much from this Gundam. He has great articulation. His arm can go up to a 90-degree angle. He has full flexibility, full 90-degree angle with legs. Fully rotate the head 360, which is fairly decent. From here, if you guys can see, you're going to get ball joints for the Gundam. Some push-in pegs, as you can see. Full rotation in the hips, full rotation, because you have this little small peg right here. Ankle joints, very flexible, can go 360. As you can see, he has his saber. Jetpack, which I'll show you later. And for so far, you have a peg to put it on the stand for right now. Peg. You're not going to get too much flexibility. Actually, the back skirts of the Gundam do not move for the most part, as you learn from Robert. Front skirts, okay. It's a little bit annoying. I agree with Robert. I agree with Robert for the most part, because I can agree that this front skirts. I don't like the fact that this front skirts go simultaneously from each other. I'd rather have them separate, if you know what I mean. You get this really cool GN particle burst. A shield. A gun. His two halves of his GN drive. And his battery pack, if I call it, whatever you want to call it, a battery pack or something. So getting your Gundam to look really cool is that I usually take this, if I want to have my Gundam sitting in the shelf, or on the shelf, or in my box or something, I'll rather have him put on this. So basically, if you want to put your if you want to put the burst mode plastic particle onto his GN drive, it's fairly simple. Basically, face this way. You want to face the back of the Gundam, not the gray pack, not the gray back of it, but the front of it. You want to take this. See these three hoses? You want to connect these three hoses to it. You want to connect the big ones, side ones. Take this, you want to plug it in. You should automatically hear snap, or not. It just stay in place. Take the back side of the Gundam, put him right here. Slide him in, and he'll have this neat burst mode effect from Season 1, Episode 1, when he starts flying out in the sky. So for color and scheme, for the most part, I just started to stick with the gray, just for the gray scheme, because I thought that the gray will just stand out. And just from looking from the box appearance, I said to myself, well, why not I just color the front skirt or his front chest silver? And as you can see, it brings out this silver effect that I like, the silver effect, and it's really cool if you guys can see it. For the lighting and everything, I just decided to put gray because I didn't like the gray factor. If you can see, this is the original gray factor from the front side of his chest, and so I decided to color in with a silver Sharpie, which gave me the texture to have this little glossy metallic shine, which I like for the most part. It's very metallic and metal-like. Same thing with head. I painted the silver. Added a few coloring schemes, coloring his head. I was fairly disappointed that the box didn't give me his saber opposed to the ACO, which is kind of sad because I would love to have his saber. If he did, then I'll just have like a claymation toy figure fight with him and his rival of 00-144 grade. So for the most part, from the looks of this Gundam, it's fairly flexible, very flexible. Same thing with the other, same thing with the Gundam second season. You can pretty much put him in any pose if you want to put him in. If you guys want to connect his battery pack, same thing. You take this. Actually, you take this thing off, which is a pain in the butt, and you want to plug his battery pack in. And so he has that battery pack. His battery pack. For the most part, I just like to stick with his GN drive because I think that the GN drive really stands out for the most part than the battery pack. Because I think that battery pack is very amateurish, if you know what I mean. It's very amateurish and doesn't stand out for the most part. But if you want to have some texture, as you can see, I decided to paint this silver. If the camera can get it. Yeah, I decided to paint this silver because I wanted to bring out that little texture bit of that GN drive. Yeah, there we go, that texture silver bit from that GN drive, which I have to work on a little bit later. For the most part, it's the same big deal how Robert discussed about his own Gundam, about the ACO. Basically, it doesn't have a clip-on opposed to the RX-78 Gundam. So basically what you have to do is just put it in his hand right here and just flip it over. Too bad. Oh, it made a click. But it won't make a click so much. It will just stay in place for the most part. You won't get too many flexibility out of this Gundam. You won't get too many flexibilities out of the shield part of the Gundam. And if you plan to do this for claymation, you can probably, if you put him in this situation, then he's not going to hold it too much. For some odd reason, I decided to put some super glue into his hand while it dried out, so he can be able to hold the shield in place. If you guys are very careful with super or crazy glue, I suggest you that you don't want to mess up the parts and get it next to the ball joint figure points. For the most part, same thing with the gun. You plug it in. You plug the gun in, but for some odd reason, it doesn't want to stay in place. And if you notice that the RX-78 or the RX-78 X, yeah, the rest of the Gundams usually have like a clip-on lock deal part of the Gundam, or they will have two separate hand fingers, which is the pain in the butt because all you have to do is just take the ball joint of the hand and just switch it in. For the most part, he comes... Sorry, let me stand this Gundam upright. For the most part, you can fairly get the Gundam's gun up in position. But if you want to hold him tight, you probably want to bend the wrist up a little more, and so it can stay in place, and that's how you're going to let him do some more action possibilities. Just from my own point of view, I prefer to have the GN particle plastic figure on, because like I said again, it stands out. It gives the Gundam a neat effect. You don't have to do any special project with this Gundam. It just automatically comes up. And as you see at the intro of my video, I had him into a I had him up into a in a RX-78 gun pose, as you can see from right here. Bam, there he is. There he is. So to compare with size and width, he is half the size of the RX-78 Gundam War version for the most part. And if you look at the RX-78, for example, I'm sure that I made a video. If you look at my YouTube channel, I'm sure that I made a horrible version of the RX-78, but hopefully I'm going to do a reamp on this one. If you look at the RX-78 Gundam, I'm just going to show you a quick second. If you look at the RX-78 Gundam, you'll see that this clip-on right here, from each master grade or high grade Gundam, will have like a clip-on deal. If you see, there's a little clip, and right beside that clip there should be like a little hole to clip it in for the Gundam to hold it in place, so the gun won't wobble around or thing like that. Same thing with the shield. From here, it's fairly clip-on, and you can also put it in front of him also if you want to, or you can just switch his arm around to give him that neat effect. hopefully, supposedly, for this Gundam, you can do the same thing to that also, which is a quite neat effect. And would you look at that? It has great architecture. Not only his great architecture, but the way how he is standing, replicating the RX-78 Gundam. Would you look at that, people? Isn't she a beauty?